Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Season 1, Episode 8 of The Company You Keep. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So there's a lot of moving pieces to this episode. First and foremost, let's start off with Leo's side of things. Obviously, I think it was a couple days ago, Shelby, S.N. Atkins' character, her dad died. And he was part of the steel construction crew that Leo used to be a part of, and obviously they reunited basically their hate for Davey. He's the dude that swindled them out of all of their pensions and stuff like that. He lost them their jobs and their pension. So Leo went on a vendetta this episode because he went after him. It's like, right. And that was also the thing, too. He didn't tell his family. He was supposed to go to an appointment, because he had a doctor's appointment, but he avoided it. He lied to Charlie and made Charlie think it was being rescheduled. And luckily, Ollie isn't the only person that Birdie is tracking in the family. I guess, I don't know if she's probably not tracking Fran or Charlie, but because of Leo's dementia, just, in case, it makes sense. But ultimately, Charlie shows up and sees Leo about to con the guy. It's like, right, like $200,000 plus is what Leo's pension would be if Davey, who's now just Dave or David, goes by that now because he's now, rolling with the circles he's rolling with at the country club. So it turns into some, let's bet some money for these, the golfing, 10 grand a hole and stuff like that. Obviously, Leo was kind of in the red, but then it was like, nope, he ended up doubling up and ended up scoring 100 grand, but that wasn't enough for Leo. But Charlie says, like, right, you taught me never to let my emotions get the best of me, and when I start getting emotional in a situation, that's when you have to kind of like cut ties and like bail. But Leo wouldn't, and so, doubles up again for one more shot. And I love Charlie being like, so what if you don't make it? He's like, then we run like hell because I don't have the 200 grand to pay him. But luckily it worked out. They came out on top in this situation. So, but at least it is interesting conversation between Leo and Charlie, because Leo has this conversation with Fran later that the reason why he did what he did, the reason why now was the time, is what he also told Charlie, is because of Shelby's dad dying. It's like that was kind of like, now was kind of the perfect time. Him and Shelby's dad and so many people from that steel crew were screwed over by Davey. And so the fact of the matter is, like, because he was sick, he had cancer. And now even that line from Fran, it's like, oh no, the heart attack got him before the cancer did. Charlie's like, geez, Mom, that's grim. She's like, no, you know what's really grim is these guys, most of them have not worked since for the past 20 years since they lost those steel jobs. She's like, that's grim. And it's really sad and heartbreaking that they probably had to do whatever they can to try and scrounge any money they can just to survive. I mean, who knows how many of them also have families too, just trying to make do. But the reason why Leo did this now of all times is because it turns out he went to his appointment was a week before, and he'd tell Fran because it was not good news. And what happened with Shelby's dad was so sudden. It's like, I don't want that to be me. I want my family to have something. But for Fran, it's like, don't go off doing anything on your own. We don't need money. We need you. So, because we're a family. We do stuff together. You don't go behind our back. Obviously, Leo tried to throw like Charlie under the bus by being like, yeah, you made that deal with, because obviously they're not the fans of cops, because it turns out that on Fran's side of things, her family got screwed over back in the 30s by the cops. They screwed her over, whereas like the criminals, the mobsters, the wise guys are the ones that stopped by, gave her family groceries and stuff like that. So, so that's why, he's also got his, I'm sure it's also like, because of the legality of the system and stuff like that, Davey was able to just to kind of wipe away all their pensions and kind of disappear not disappear, just was able to get away with it without any issue. I'm sure that also plays a role in why Leo kind of has such resentment towards probably like the authorities and stuff like that. You know, also being a con man, it makes you not that trusting, which is actually a perfect segue kind of back to the Charlie thing, because Charlie's upset at his dad because it's like, right, you kind of raised me in this. I never really had a choice. But for Leo, it's like, I taught you how to survive. It's like, no, you taught me how to basically cut myself off from the world, that basically you can't trust anybody. And you kind of took any choice of what my life could have been, who I could have been. Like, I was kind of screwed from the beginning because you kind of raised me in this world. This is kind of all I know. So any attempts at kind of having anything other than that, it's not really possible. Like, it's almost like me and Emma were doomed from the start, because because I'm always going to be who I am. Like, what I was kind of raised to be, and there's no, like, ifs, ands, or buts about it, essentially. And that really sat with Leo, and he even, talked to Charlie later on. It's like, right, I do want you to have more. He's like, and Charlie's like, yeah, because you're extremely stubborn. He was like, not the words I'd go for, but yes. The fact is that he's wanted to protect his family by any means, but he didn't realize by doing so, he would put Charlie in a compromising position, and that Charlie would basically live on an island. Like, protecting the family is wonderful, but I don't want that to be all you have. I want you to be able to live your life and kind of go out there and do stuff, so he didn't realize how much he might have been kind of like stifling Charlie in certain regards by kind of making this life all that he kind of has and knows, so I thought that was just kind of interesting. And ultimately, everyone comes together because yes, Leo got his, but not the other family. So they run like a charity scam trying to get Davey to, invest a whole bunch of money. I thought they were kind of screwed when it was a whole situation of that. Yeah, we got like a couple hours to kind of pull in this like construction and make it seem like this place has been here for months, that we've been working on it for months, and not just the 4 hours we got. Oh, never mind, the timetables moved up, we have an hour. So the point was like they had to go basically steal, very leverage move of steal an already existing construction site and make use of it, make it seem like, hey, this is a construction site we've been working on for months. So I thought that was interesting. Sadly, one of the people on the team like screwed up because they referred to Davey by Davey, and he doesn't go by that in his circles, because it's little things here and there throughout the episode. When he was around Leo, at first he was like, you seem familiar. He's like, yeah, I got one of those faces. Then later on, Leo said a term that he was like, oh, because he referred to him as bullets or something like that. It's something related to steel. And he's like, oh yeah, I just haven't heard that since my steel days. It's like 2. And then strike 3 was the fact that someone referred to him as Davey, a name he hasn't gone by in so long, because once again, he's like, was it David or Dave, like in his current circles? So it's like, all right, that was weird. Plus, also strike 4, Leo stole the watch off of his, because, it's interesting because, like, that's almost like the 4-gun gang in the Blacklist. Very similar. Like, one of the dudes, Jacob Pitt's character, stole watches. That was kind of his proclivity as a con man, as thief. So it's just interesting to also have that in this regard as well. But yeah, Leo couldn't let go of the watch. To be fair, he even said early on that watch is basically worth his pension, because he did have to give away the $200,000. So I guess he still wanted. It's like, right, everyone would have gotten something at the end with that 10 mil, but I think it's just a little extra FU to Davey. But later on, Leo gets not arrested, they bring him in for questioning because it's about grand larceny, because it's about the watch and everything. So I guess he must have pieced it together that Leo must have taken it and kind of figured this whole thing out. And now it's like well, this is bad, because if they find out about everything, they find out about Leo on this, they could find out about a charity thing, like the whole thing could come crumbling down. Not just this con, but the entire family could take the fall for it. So there's that. We'll kind of end things there so we can like incorporate all the other elements as well. Because another side of this episode is that obviously business has been booming for Daphne, and it's all worked out. So she's trying to help her father out, because it's like, hey, I've been running the business. Oh, Connor's doing his thing, but I'm the one really like progressing the family thing. And it's like, right, you keeping me a secret hasn't made a big difference. And it's like, hey, I don't really want to choose favorites between my children, but hey, whichever one of you gets me out, now I'll definitely lean towards more favoritism in that regard. So Daphne uses Charlie to try and get her dad out. But the fact is that because she tried to bribe the judge is kind of a no-go. Charlie's mainly working with the Leo situation this episode. I mean, it doesn't help that him and Emma aren't on the best of terms right now. So he's got a lot of animosity towards her because it's like, yeah, his dad's running a con and he kind of tells Emma about it. Emma's like, yeah, our deal only covers like what you're doing with the Daphne stuff, not any extracurricular like cons you're doing on the side. And because even Birdie is talking to, they spend a lot of time together this episode. Because I brought that up after last episode, I was like, most likely like the rest of the family is going to be incorporated into a lot of this going forward. So Birdie in this particular episode is spending a lot of time with Emma. Fran doesn't have the chip on her shoulder about it. I mean, I think she probably feels a certain way, but she's not letting it on. Leo made it perfectly clear how he was feeling about Emma. But Birdie was like, yeah, like, I'm just very protective of my brother. I also don't appreciate the way you've been treating him lately. Because Birdie also sees, like, yeah, Charlie's a good guy through and through. He always tries to do his best. Even to the point, it's because Emma felt like later on, it's like, okay, at least I have someone in this family who trusts me. But it's like, no, the fact is, she's like, I don't think you truly understand Charlie doing what he did, telling you the truth about who we are, our connection to Daphne. He basically put our family at risk. And the fact is that Charlie wouldn't do that just for anybody. Because Charlie's whole thing has always been about protecting his family. But so it's to showcase you are so important to him that he was willing to risk everything for you. He sacrificed himself, compromised himself in that regard for you. So that showcases who he is, that the fact is he was willing to go that far for you, that he's never gone that far for anyone else. And also, at this point, she still also doesn't know about the Tina thing, so I wonder will that ever come up in conversation. We'll see maybe later on, because they know about the exes on each other's regard, but I don't know if we really dive into Emma's ex at all, or if that's really warranted, because, it's just that relationship wasn't what it was all meant to be. For Charlie, the whole Tina thing was, once again, they were engaged and everything. So, but I don't know if the Emma and her ex thing will be warranting like resurfacing, like going back to it. But once again, the Tina thing is always going to be on the table because that's going to be like a really interesting and poignant story for Charlie, and especially if Emma's involved in that regard. But either way, it is this interesting thing where obviously Emma does look at herself from a certain point of view in comparison to Charlie and his family, and Birdie's kind of bringing up the fact is, yeah, there's a lot of similarities, like a lot of the stuff that the CIA teaches you about basically when you're kind of undercover, when you're trying to like get someone on your side. Oh, very much sounds like, how a criminal handles things, and it's also, you're also working with criminals. But Emma's like, I see the points you're trying to make, but no, it's a different thing. It's like, there's a lot more gray area, which her father talked about previously, than she lets on, because she still has her black and white element of what's right and what's wrong. She is shading in those, shades of gray, but also, once again, the establishment that is the CIA heavily shades in those shades of gray, so. But Emma herself has always kind of avoided that. This episode in particular, she shaded into those in episode 6 and episode 7, and even more so in this episode. But especially when she had to channel Daphne to try and get the judge. It's like, right, use his taxes and look through his finances, because it turns out he's very particular about what criminals he will work with. It's usually like good-ish criminals where it's like, hey, you're criminals, but you're not like the god-awful criminals type of situation. He'll work with kind of honest criminals in some regards, so that's kind of how I think he justifies it in his mind, which is an interesting parallel with Emma, because it is all about the rationale and justifications that you'll justify to yourself to excuse the decisions that you make in her regard of working with Charlie and his family. But it all worked out. They ended up giving Daphne the leverage she needed, and ultimately she got her father out, which we'll circle back to that later. But when Leo ended up getting grabbed by the cops, Emma came in and she ended up getting Leo released by saying like, hey, he was an informant for like an operation that they were running. And for Charlie, it's like, I can't believe you did that for me. She's like, yeah, I was just doing the right thing. Your dad is a good guy. So definitely seems like, and I think for Charlie, that was kind of nice being like, oh, because there's been such complicated animosity between each other, because Emma's, got her complicated feelings of this, because she's hurt, because it's like, because she legitimately loved Charlie and those feelings are there and they don't go away. And for Charlie, it's complicated because like those feelings haven't gone away, and the way Emma looks at him, the way she talks to him, the way she kind of judges him, it cuts him deep. So they both had their animosities kind of towards each other because of the hurt that's going on right now. But this feels like it's a step in the right direction. Now, what this means for them, like, you hope and believe, I believe like everything will work out in the end, but we don't know for sure. And so at the very least, you're kind of getting a feeling like, all right, they're at least taking a step in the right direction, and it's going to be a better benefit for their working relationship going forward. But even Birdie was like, wow, you compromised, you broke your own rules. But because it's like, yeah, because for Emma, she felt like it was worth it in his regard, because it's like, right, I'm willing to do this. And she even tells Charlie, it's like, because you were, I'm going to protect your family like I said I would, because you protected mine. So there's that side of things. Speaking of Emma's family, we got some David development. Obviously, while he's been on this campaign situation, him and, I think her name's Jen or Jennifer, ended up getting really close. And the mom's like happy about it until David and Emma's dad ends up saying like, yeah, that's she was referred to by Claire Fox. It's like, right, this woman's in our life and she hasn't been in our life for so long. We've always made an extra effort to not have this woman in our life. Wasn't trying to destroy our lives once before enough. And so they end up bringing this up to David. And for David, he has complicated feelings about it because he's in love with Jen, like there's something building there. But it's like, no. Like she couldn't be, like manipulating me. Like what we have is real. But, for his dad, it's like, I can't. I'm just telling you how it is. Claire Fox is the type of person that would manipulate someone like that. And obviously he learns about David learns about their father's indiscretion, and kind of that's the, pretty way of, putting it. But especially for David, it's like, I didn't tell you about the Claire Fox thing because I needed support and I didn't want to feel like I'm letting you down. I wanted to live up to your legacy. But it's like, for the first time in my life, Dad, I'm glad I'm not you, it was heartbreaking. It cut him deep because he feels like, you can tell it cut their dad deep, because it's like, hey, I recognize I failed in so many regards. I put all this on you to be, I put all this on you to be a great person. It's not because I wanted you to be be like me. I wanted you to be better to me. That's why I always pushed and stuff like that. I'm sure, like, it's in this moment that it really cuts deep, that I never wanted you to try and mirror yourself after me. In fact, I wanted you to be nothing like me. I wanted you to be a better man than me, because you already are. So, and so later on, David talks to Jen about it. It's like, yeah, my family's complications with Claire Fox, I can't, have you work on my campaign. But it's like, okay, then I won't work on your campaign. But it's like, I don't want to be in a situation like that. But for Jen, it's like, no, what we have right here, I like it. I enjoy it. So I don't want to lose that. That's where we get into the complicated thing too. Because it's like, is this the long con? Maybe it's not just, hey, get Jen close to David by working with him. It might, God, this could also turn into a nasty situation where it's like, later on, this could get spun where it's like, I had to keep working. Like, she could easily twist this if that's Jen's ultimate goal, because she says the only reason why her connection to Claire Fox is like, yeah, she's like a friend of my family's or something like that. That's the only connection they really have. But we don't know if, like, once again, this is a long con where it's like, hey, get close to David, not just in the campaign sense, but also in like the whole relationship sense. Or it could be history repeating itself and she's kind of setting him up. I mean, it's not an affair situation because he's not married or anything, or he's not with anyone currently. So it could easily be a situation of, once again, she could twist this to be kind of like a power thing of, I was kind of forced. I was working with him, and he kind of put me in a compromising position, and we had to work. Not saying she will go down that route, but because of who Claire Fox is and how she's played things, who's to say, once again, if Jen is all like Team Claire Fox, how she could twist and turn this in that regard. But I want to believe in love, because I'm a sap. I want to believe what's happening is real, and that Jen hasn't. But you never know. Like, it might be that thing of, oh, I sent you here for one job, and now you're actually backing out of it. Yeah, I'm coming after you, Jen, if you don't do what I tell you to do, type of thing. So I overcomplicated that the way I went about breaking that down. But I feel like, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see where things kind of flow on that regard. And then the final piece to all of this is, now Maguire got released. We had Connor waiting for him. I was like, that's weird. Why isn't it Daphne? And it's like, they had the whole back and forth because he's like, right, I'm having a hard time running. How am I really supposed to run this company, Dad, this family business, Dad, if you're keeping secrets from me? And then Patrick leans in and is like, Connor, like, you don't have to worry about it. She will never be a Maguire. We'll only keep her around as long as she's proved to be useful. Now I'm like, there's multiple ways that could have. Initially, I was like, okay, you could take that multiple ways. Either he's placating Connor because easily she is the favorite now and he just doesn't want Connor to know that. Or two, it is true that, yes, like, she will never be a Maguire. And she was so happy she had wine ready. She said, hey, Dad, come in. And then Connor's there, and he's like, Patrick's like, hey, we finally get to come together as a family for the first time. It's a full family meal. And also, you're going to break this whole thing down on how the business operates, how it all works for me. It breaks it all down to me and your dad. I mean, being your brother. And you see that look on her face. Now, I think the rude awakening, I don't know if she fully had it in this moment or whether it's coming up, but this is the point where Daphne's going to start realizing, I'm trying to please someone that once again, she doesn't know that from their perspective, I'll never be a Maguire. I might be his blood, but I'm not enough because I never shared the name, because I never had the name. I still don't have the name. So once again, it could be that Patrick's playing Connor, or it could be like he is my blood more so than you. What I had with your mom was a fling. I mean, he reached out to her, so that's why I'm like, why reach out to her? Not unless this is meant to be like some competition of, hey, I'm pitting my children against each other to see who rises to the surface. But I think it could easily be a thing where Daphne realizes, like, right, I'm trying so hard to please someone to take over this business for them. But it's like, no, I'm doing this for me, and I might eventually decide that I'm not going to do any more for Patrick. I'm not going to do any more for Maguire. I'm simply going to do what I want for me because, I'm done pleasing him. I'm going to do this. I'm going to run this empire. I'm going to make it my own. So probably like some of those feelings of, hey, you weren't in my life until after my mom died. So like, yeah, I don't know why I have to, because she's been missing that part of herself. So that's why she's also wanted to connect with Patrick, because it's like, you are a part of me. There's a part of me I never got to know. So she enjoys, because not only am I good at this criminal stuff, the fact is it gets me closer to you. So I get to know a part of myself. So she gets to have a rounder picture of herself. And I think that is going to be something she recognizes as her weakness, because what did she tell Charlie last episode? What she wants? She wants the money, she wants the power, and she wants the respect. And she's already kind of getting two, but she hasn't quite got the respect from her father nor her brother. So once again, we'll have to keep an eye on that element of it. It's definitely going to be interesting to see ultimately where all of that, and all of this in general ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.